Hi, my name is Hanna, and today we have our US tax expert Derren. We also have our US real estate and legal expert Jay. We will be discussing US real estate forensic. Hai, nama saya Hanna. Hari ini kami memiliki pakar pajak Amerika Serikat kami Derren. Kami juga memiliki pakar real estate dan hukum Amerika Serikat kami Jay. Dan kami akan membahas forensik real estate Amerika Serikat.
This podcast channel is about you, successful international entrepreneurs, successful expats, successful investors. Sponsored by HCJ.tax.
Hi, my name is Hanna and I'm from Indonesia, and currently I'm working with US tax firm. And today we will talk about US real estate forensic with Jay Knight and Derren Joseph. Would you please introduce yourself, Derren?
Thank you, Hannah. So this would be the third installment in our series on U.S. real estate for Asian investors. My name is Derren Joseph, and I'm a tax professional. Our team does international tax in general, but U.S. international in particular. And in this context, we are talking about Asian investors into U.S. real estate.
Jay?
All right, thanks Hannah and Derren. Thanks for having me here again. It's great to be back. Yeah, my name is Jay Knight. I'm a licensed real estate broker from the state of California, and I work with Asian investors who want to pathway to deal with someone in America to help them purchase property. So that's a little bit about my background, and yeah, looking forward to our discussion tonight.
So, would you please introduce the case, Derren?
Right, so we did some searching in some online databases, legal databases, where you can, because when a matter is taken before court in the US, for the most part, exceptions of course, but for the most part, they're a matter of public record. So we're going to talk about a relatively prominent Indonesian family who invested into attempted or has invested into US real estate. We won't name names, we don't want to embarrass anyone. Everything is freely available online, but we don't want to use any names in this conversation because it'll be distracting. What we want to do is focus on what happened and perhaps lessons that would be learned that would be applicable to anyone. Okay?
Yeah, sure. And do you have anything to add, Jay?
Oh, sounds good.
Okay. All right, cool. So Jay, I mean, this is your wheelhouse. So do you want to paint the scene?
All right. Yeah, this was a very tragic situation, although it probably isn't all that uncommon. If we did a little bit more searching, I'm sure that we would find quite a few of these. And basically, it is real estate scam 101. Maybe not that egregious because we don't know the actual intent of the in this case, the defendants, but it sure seems like that from an outside look. And basically what happened was a very well-to-do Indonesian family had invested some money after going to a real estate seminar that was held in Indonesia. And they were convinced to basically invest some money in what would be a limited partnership, which that limited partnership would then buy bulks of properties in the state of Michigan in America. And as a result of this limited partnership and the amount that they invested, which was going to be over $1 million, they were promised that they would be granted some sort of a visa that would allow them a pathway towards a green card and then future residency. So that was really the impetus to this whole case. Was they wanted to invest the money, and they were very enticed by the fact that they were promised high returns and good investments, and also that they would have a pathway to this residency in America. So that's kind of like the outlining area of what happened, right? So maybe you want to add a little bit more, but that's kind of it in a nutshell in terms of the overview.
Okay, sounds good.
And now we will talk about unlicensed professional. So I guess with this, Jay have more to say. Would you please, Jay?
Okay, sure. Well, unlicensed professional, it almost sounds like an oxymoron, right? I mean, an unlicensed professional, although there are probably some unlicensed professionals. In this case, we want to be very, very clear that, people that are not licensed and they're doing or holding themselves out to do certain business, we have to be very careful with. I mean, not to say that there aren't very important people that do certain things that maybe that they're not licensed to do, but when we're dealing with, anything, we want to make sure that we are dealing with trusted licensed professionals. So in this case, again, we have a very similar problem, is that the people that they were investing money with, this couple from Indonesia that was investing money in this investment company, it doesn't have to have a license to be an investment company, right? They can just hold themselves out to say, hey, I'm a real estate investment company. All right, I've known a lot of real estate investment companies. Some of them are legitimate, some of them are not, but they're not licensed. There is no license in that area. So you want to make sure then that even if you're going to invest in an investment company, that you get a licensed professional to work and represent you in doing so. So they can make sure and do all the due diligence that maybe you don't have the expertise or the knowledge or the insight or even just the know-how to do. So working with licensed professionals, is really important just for a due diligence standpoint, but also from a legal standpoint, because if you have a licensed professional, you have a governing agency or a governmental board that you can go to and double check to make sure that they are licensed. And also you can make a complaint against them, because when you're dealing with a licensed professional, the last thing that they want is to lose their license. And so most of the time, they're going to do things the way that they're supposed to do them, because most of them are probably ethical anyway, but they don't want to have any kind of repercussions or reprimand from the government body. So dealing with licensed professionals, again, very, very important part. And again, in this case, was a very, very key element for why they ended up in the situation that they did.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jay. And then Derren, do you have anything to add?
And I think Jay covered everything. Somehow they must have skin in the game. They must have some sort of risk as well, so that if they have an incentive to make sure that everything goes smoothly, because they know if things do not go smoothly, they can lose their license, which is how they are given permission to practice whatever it is they're practicing, whether it is as an attorney, a real estate broker, or accountant. They must have some sort of professional accreditation. They must have oversight. And when you have no oversight, you have a dangerous person, because that person has nothing to lose. Never do business with someone who has nothing to lose. And another red flag I've seen in looking at people pitching real estate investments from the US is if they only go to unregulated jurisdictions. They will only come to Indonesia, they'll only go to Thailand, or they'll only go to Vietnam. They will not put their foot in Singapore. They will not put their foot into Hong Kong or London or Sydney. Why not? Why not? Because they know if they were to ever be caught out and well, again, we're not saying that there was any intent, but if ever there was to be a misunderstanding with a resident of Singapore, the government will come after you. You're not just dealing with a Singaporean, you're dealing with the Singaporean government. They will make it difficult for you to ever come back. Whereas when you're in a jurisdiction like Indonesia or maybe Vietnam or Thailand, not so much. You can probably get away with it. Or Dubai. Yeah. So they tend to stay away from more regulated jurisdictions. You flew all the way to Indonesia. You flew over London. Why didn't you stop in London? you flew via Japan. Why didn't you stop in Tokyo? Why are you deliberately targeting unregulated, unsupervised jurisdictions? So just this whole idea of not only not being licensed, but avoiding any jurisdiction with a licensing requirement, huge red flag.
That's a great point.
Exactly. I mean, like, okay, in the US, they have licensed broker or licensed real estate agency, but here in Indonesia, I don't think it's normal to have license in the real estate agency, something like that. So if somebody say, "Hey, I'm a real estate agency," and then it's like, "Oh, you have license?" And then Indonesian will say, "What do you mean license? We don't need license to do this." I think
Yeah,
like,
I think that's a really good point, because if you come from a place where real estate agents and real estate brokers don't exist, having to have licenses, that's not a regulated area, you may not ever really think about asking somebody that comes to pitch you something whether or not they have a license, because you're not familiar with it needing to have a license. And I think Derren's point is really very poignant point, is that yeah, they come to these areas where people aren't familiar with you needing a license, and that's just how business is done in some areas. So they think that's no big deal. That's how it works, right? They don't realize that there are people that do have licenses, and that is the standard. So yeah, great point.
okay, great. Thank you so much, Jay and Derren. And then we'll see you in the next episode.
All right.